This is the monthly meeting of the VHCA Board of Directors. It's called to order. There's agendas, proposed agendas.
Good.
Proposed agendas are available. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Is there any objection or comment? Without objection, it is ordered. We have no police and fire reps here, and if they arrive, we will break for them, and no, at the moment, City of Atlanta officials, but we have some guests that we've invited, we're delighted to have. The first is Emily Ellison. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Ywca of Greater Atlanta, and Lola and I have had the pleasure of meeting with Emily a couple of times in the last 6 months, really just because we value the Y, and the Y plays a big role in this community, and we're glad to have it in good health and prospering, so we wanted to, we look forward to chances to work with you. And anyway, Emily, we'd like you to just tell us a little bit about what the Y is up to, and so we can all be on the same page. And I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for having me. I'll keep it brief. As I told Lola, I didn't prepare anything. I've been traveling. The YWCA, as some of you may know, was founded in 1902 and has been a real part of the city of Atlanta since that time. And at our location, our main offices are headquartered on North Highland in the old Presbyterian church there. The mission of the YWCA nationally is the same as the one that we have adopted, as most of the local chapters have, and it is helping to empower women and girls and children, families, and eliminating racism. So we have been working really hard, particularly in the last few months, to make sure that we're advancing that mission. We had an event back in May. We had 750 people at the Marriott Marquis, where we honored quite a number of women who have made a difference in Atlanta, including the Reverend Joanna Adams. I don't know if any of you all know Joanna, but she's a remarkable woman. She was our Woman of Achievement. Lisa Crimmen from Metropolitan Atlanta Arts Fund, Beth Finnerty, President and CEO of Skyland Trail, who has been involved in mental health for 25 years, celebrating her 25th anniversary there. Dana Hallberg, who's chair on Georgia BNY Mellon Wealth Management, Danita Knight, and Michelle Nunn, and others. Anyway, it was a really wonderful event. The Y has had a reputation for putting on some remarkable events. And we will continue to do that, but what we really want to be known for is the work that we're doing in the community, helping to empower families, get people back on track, those type of things. One thing I've told Jack and Lola is that we really want to be a part of this neighborhood, this community. So if there are things that we can do, whether it's at our Early Learning Academy, where we have almost 200 children, trying to have state-of-the-art early learning for those children who are 6 weeks up to 5 years old. We have 3 pre-K classes. Or Teen Girls in Technology, a racial justice program that we're starting. If all goes well, the attorneys stop asking us to do a lot of different things. We're going to be merging with Georgia Women for a Change, which will put us in more of an advocacy position. Those are some of the things that we're doing. But as to be good neighbors, if there's any time we can host something for you, for this organization, I would love to get back where we're doing some health programming for people in the community, whether it's yoga classes upstairs in our all-purpose room or whatever. So please let us know if there are needs for the neighborhood and things that we can do to be better neighbors for all of you. We're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for board members. We have an incredible board of about 23 women who are movers and shakers around the city. But I would love to have someone representing the neighborhood as well. So, any questions? No? Okay.
That's an impressive litany. You know, I think we'll try to take it up on you. We have a couple of fall meetings that we normally don't meet here because of holiday conflicts with the library, and I think just we should go out of our way to try to, if you're willing to host us, just to, let's try to get.
Is it usually at this time?
Yeah, it's usually the second Monday at 7. Typically.
At 7. Also, Everything usually closes at 6:30 if all the children have been picked up, but I can stay or have our facilities manager stay with me.
If that's agreeable, I mean, it would just, I think it'd be a great way to get
Absolutely,
people
yeah.
to go to the facility and know, we have had meetings there in the past, but it's been quite a few years, so it'd be really nice
Good,
to
yeah.
kind of just get that touched on again, and really appreciate your coming, and I thank you for taking your time.
Great, absolutely. I'll leave a few of these, but not many, probably most of you don't want to. But if you're interested, it has information about the Early Learning Academy, our other programs, a list of our board of directors. So I'll leave just, you know, a couple or so with you all here.
Amy, I have a question. Do you have any board members that are in Virginia-Highland or?
We did have one, and I'm trying to think of her name, I can't remember that.
She was at the first meeting with us, I think, was she not? I can't remember.
Oh gosh, she was with Harvard Business Club, but she moved to New York City a few months ago. I wasn't there very long while she was a board member. But I would love to have someone on the board.
When do you elect a board?
It's usually our fiscal year is calendar year, so we'll probably be electing new board members November, December,
Okay.
For January 1 term. And the terms are 2 years, and then for another 2 if somebody wants to re-up for that. This gives you a little information. We have a couple of these left over. If any of you want these, I just pass them around. From our Salute to Women of Achievement, and gives you some ideas about the organization. So,
Thank you
again,
so
I'm a
much.
little bit goofy today. My husband had emergency surgery this morning, and then we were traveling until Sunday, so I'm really a little bit more together than this usually.
You did well.
We
Thanks
never
for coming.
know.
Thanks for coming so much.
Well, thank you. Hope you have a good meeting. Good luck to everybody who's
We hope you'll let us know if
on the
we can-
planning meeting. Good to see you. I'm Emily Ellison. Thank you.
Let us know if we can help you too.
All right.
please.
Thank you.
Thanks. So we have 2 guests tonight as part of our quest to just stay in touch with all of the significant, particularly nonprofit agencies in our neighborhood, and one of them is, this is Chris Escobar, who is not exactly, he's so close that he feels like a neighbor. Chris is the executive director of Atlanta Film Festival, and we almost had an event for Chris at North Island Park. It actually sparked our attempts to get our legal situation together, and we look forward to that again. But Chris has been a real advocate for this neighborhood. Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Jack. Hello, everyone. As you can say, my name is Christopher Escobar. I'm the executive director of the Atlanta Film Festival. We're also a nonprofit organization. We're one of the oldest and longest running film festivals in the country. We just, earlier this year, had the 38th annual Atlanta Film Festival. So it's a big endeavor on us, and I certainly sympathize with the group, and I'm very impressed. I was saying earlier that you guys are here the next day after such a huge event. So I applaud you for that. But yeah, our connection became when we sort of relocated the Atlanta Film Festival to be centered at the Plaza Theater, which is just across the street here, from Landmark Midtown Art Cinema, and it was there for about 6 or 7 years, and before that it was just sort of spread out all across the metro area. Our shift has been, starting in 2012, a lot stronger in 2013, and then really started reaping the benefits of that in 2014, has been, rather than trying to pick a big multiplex or something like that to try and centralize the festival, is to rather use our most vibrant neighborhoods as the central venue. And so the Plaza Theater being the only independently owned, oldest operating theater in the city, for us, in the move to try and make the festival something that's more genuine and more authentic to the city of Atlanta, made a lot of sense. We also forged a year-round partnership, and we've been working with the Plaza year-round since 2012 in various capacities to help them become more sustainable, more efficient, serving the community more, and we've made a lot of progress. And so our overall vision and long-term goal is to have a chain of the Little Five Points, Ponce Highland, Virginia-Highlands neighborhoods to be the footprint of the Atlanta Film Festival eventually, and for us to be how we present our city to people who come from the metro area, from the southeast, and from all over the world. The Atlanta Film Festival gets 3,200 submissions from over 100 countries. We play about 185 films in the spring. We have nearly 300 filmmakers that come from all over the world to showcase their films. And then we have about 20,000 attendees over the course of the 10 days that come and attend the films. And that's both the screenings of the film, we have an entire creative conference, there's all kinds of social events and things like that. And it's, of course, it's a huge thing for filmmakers and actors and all that sort of thing, but we just as much, if not more, serve the audience, the film-loving audience. So in addition to the Spring Festival, we do a bunch of year-round events, and they're all sort of culminations of what we do at the festival. We do screenings, we do educational events, networking, social things. Just later this month, we're going to be doing a Best of the Fest screening, and that one will be on the north side of town in LaFont Sandy Springs. I would invite you all to that. But throughout the year, we do a number of screenings at the Plaza. Later in August, we'll be doing Mountain Film on Tour Atlanta, which is a presentation of Mountain Film and Telluride, which is a great green, eco-friendly, adventure film-based documentary. So, without taking up too much additional time, we hope in the future that we can look to work together in ways that make sense year-round as well as during the festival. Jack and I have talked about some ideas of potentially doing some screenings in the park or other things like that. If there's any way we can be a resource, and if there's interest that you guys have or ideas you can have, if it's either doing something or if it's having a movie night or whatever, always open for ideas, always open for partnership. In addition to the Plaza being a resource that we have access to, we also have some of our own projection and screens and things like that. So we can do some neat things together. And like I said, we're wanting to serve the community and partner with the community in various ways. And yeah, so anyway, if there's any ideas or questions or suggestions, Jack has all my contact information and certainly share with anyone who would like it. Yeah.
And one of the things Chris talked about, and we got some challenges here, but we have the perpetually empty former Highland Theater there, and Winnie and I have been talking about trying to figure out how in the world we can figure out some uses for that will meet the legal parking, now that we may get some additional spaces down in the NC, maybe. We have some challenges, but we really are trying to think of some ways to do some clever things with that space, because it kills us all to have this great space that we can't do anything with. So
certainly, this whole area is a huge opportunity to, for people to come, and people who don't even live in the area to come and be patrons of all the places around here. It's such a fantastic neighborhood. It's obviously you guys are all passionate about it, to dedicate your free time to help run the association. But this is, there's not too many places like this in the entire metro area where you have such a gorgeous, walkable area and such a kind of combination of small town, big town, and that's one of the things that when you go to like a Sundance, or I tell you, that's what makes those special, is that it's this kind of nice cross section of small town experience, but also lots going on and enthusiasm and activity. So, thank you.
Random logistics question. You said you had about 20,000 attendees, not all at once, of course, but do you ever hear from people about biking infrastructure or bike racks? Because there's not too many over.
Yeah, there aren't. And actually, for the Mountain Film event, for example, specifically, we take some extra measures to try and encourage alternative methods of transportation. Last year was the first year we did it, and this year we're trying to reach out and partner with folks to do bike valet and to do, just to kind of really make it, and even for an elevated level of participation where if you get a pass, it includes, we worked with the Bike Tours of Atlanta this year for the festival. And so if there's something where it can include a bike tour with it, and so that the whole experience is you do something like that outdoor and engaging in the daytime, and then in the evening, you relax and watch a movie and go get a bite, flip burger, and that kind of stuff. So that's, for us, has been a great opportunity to kind of especially encourage that, but we want to have those kind of efforts spill over into our larger festival, and where we're certainly always open to ideas of how we can, even on a temporary basis, or at least use that as a vehicle to spark the idea of making more permanent integrations of biking or alternative methods of transportation. For that thing, we even did we did free valet for carpools of 3 or more, so if you're gonna drive, we'll make it free if you reduce the cars you bring, and, so we're trying to always think about things like that.
So this is really, I mean, you hit it, and this is what we've spent months talking about in the master plan, like the walkable, and we didn't include watching movies in it, but it's the natural outcome.
Yeah.
So we just gotta get this happening. We'll figure out, we're working on trying to get the use agreements for New Highland, North Highland Park going, and we'll figure out a way to get this done, and let's make this happen. The bike valet was a huge success. There's gotta be some way to give people a free something if they come on by bike and register their bike valet, and let's just make this happen somehow or other. So Justice has got it, so.
What are the dates next year?
So that's a great question, I should have plugged that, thank you. So the 2015 Atlanta Film Festival will be March 20th through the 29th. We will again for sure be at the Plaza Theater and the Seven Stages Theater, and we're hoping that could potentially include a footprint in Virginia-Highlands. If it makes sense for 2015, we've been around 38 years, so if it doesn't make sense for this year, we're thinking long term we can make it through the 40, which for us will be a big year as well. So.
Do you get the word out to the businesses? I'm sure they would love to have
Yeah, so
patrons.
we've had some success with Majestic and Manuals and Flip Burger and Atkins Park, and a few of them have worked with us. The Warren hosted a filmmaker brunch, and they opened up for us on a Sunday morning or something, or Saturday morning, which is really cool. So we've slowly had more and more luck with the neighborhood to work and partner together and kind of really showcase these great places.
So I'll put you in touch with John Becker, who's our communication director, and so you should just send us regular bulletins about what's going on during the year, and we can run those in the Voice and other things, and let's just keep noodling here. This is going to work out somewhere whenever it's got too much potential. So.
Well, thank you all for having me. For your time.
Appreciate it. So I think the next item on the agenda is the planning committee. Ms. Carlisle, variances.
Okay, so we have B 14, 093, 855 Arlington Place, James.
Yes.
There you go. So will you present to us, the board hasn't heard all about it, and now
Yes.
it's for the plan part.
We've gotten plans to build a second story in our house. We've been living here since 2006. No, 2008, sorry. We've gone from 1 kid to 3 kids, and so we've quickly outgrown our 1920s bungalow. We've gotten plans to put a 1,000 square foot second story that would fit within the existing footprint. The reason we need a variance is that we have 1 window on the north side of the property that's currently 6.5 feet from the property line, which is outside the 7-foot setback. So in order to build up from that, the second story structure would build right on top of that same window. And then in keeping with the style of the bungalow, we would have deep 20 to 24-inch eaves. So we're asking to reduce the north side lot setback from 7 feet to 3 feet to accommodate that.
All right, we'll make, I seem to have typed it wrong in here, my error. It says the 3 feet on the second story addition. We had a site visit, and I think as I recall, it was the most interesting thing was discovering the Rock Creek flows on the surface in the backyard behind the fence, which was interesting. We realized the most upstream part of Rock Creek in the neighborhood, and very small, of course, but spring fed, but very nice.
East, west, north, south?
South and north from Ponce. And there were no stormwater, no tree issues. And we have a motion?
Yeah, move to approve.
Any questions?
Yes, you can. We'll get a motion first, and we can get it. Go ahead.
Move to approve B 14-093 based on the site plan stamped and dated 4/30/2014.
Yes,
The
sir.
question is, and I may be misunderstood, I thought you said to the 3-foot setback,
Yes.
and it says 6 foot.
That's what I said. I mistyped it. So
Right.
So this is a top step.
It's 3 in the
And that's the
cities.
existing.
Yeah.
I think I did that type up, sorry.
So it's been moved and seconded. Are there further comments, questions, thoughts, anything from anyone? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And so it's unanimous. We'll see you next week at NPU on the Hillside.
All right.
If you don't come on time, take our phone number, because sometimes they close the gate, you'll need to,
Okay.
you know, need to get your way in, but
All right.
it's officially at 7, you're not likely to be up before 8, but
Okay.
bring something to read.
Sounds good. Thank you.
While we're going to Virginia Circle,
Okay, so B14-096, and then 786 Virginia Circle, and William Valentine is here to present.
Yeah, first, my wife's name is Lyda, L-I-D-A. I know it's atypical, but she's not here to correct me. Thank you. 786 Virginia Circle, we're also expanding the house vertically, adding a second story. Applying for 2 variances, the first of which is a front yard setback. The house is built, currently has 34.8 feet on one corner, 34.25 on the other. So we asked for some variance there on the front yard setback. The second one, which I believe most of this text is referring to, is the side yard setback for the garage. There's an existing foundation and deck that was built on top of it. The foundation was for a previous garage. It's actually 0 lot line currently that we demolished. New 2-car garage will replace it with a 3-foot setback. The placement of that was to leave as much space for a large entry in the backyard. There's the overall lowering lot coverage from 46 to 43, removal of that deck, and a lot of the associated concrete, because we'll be accessing the garage from an alley as opposed to from the front, so we're able to pull out some impervious surface there. We are removing some Leland cypress trees in the back of the property in order to access it. None of those require a permit based on their the species and size. We did agree in the meeting to add a couple. I have some drawings I can show. We did choose some.
let's see those if you will.
Sure.
So,
One big one, and I have some small ones to pass out.
just the big ones, if you can just, we ask.
Other items of note, the garage does not exceed 16 feet total. There's no planned living space on, there's just a pitch roof over the garage. So these are Leland cypress here at the very back. They're installed for visual screening between the neighbors across the alley from each other, so those will all be removed to allow for this drive. This is, you can see the outline, there it is, the outline of the deck that was all this concrete back to here will be removed to much smaller amount of concrete back in. That's where we pick up about 3% more lot coverage area. The other request, so there was a request for trees. I think there's a note on here somewhere. Just what they sent me. So for a silver bell and a 2-inch caliber silver bell and eastern red cedar, were the choices I made. And then a planting area downstream of the concrete being removed to pick up some of the water runoff, and then also a rain barrel.
So I think we'd ask for a calculation of the formerly planted space for that area. Did that get calculated?
Yeah, it's shown right now as 30 square feet. It's basically, it's the width of the garage.
So this, in effect, we're losing 3 trees at the back that are in fact classified as nuisance trees at Leland cypresses. They're under 6 feet, 6-inch DBA. They're going to be replaced subsequently by 2 other smaller trees that will, I think, in a few years should have the capacity, should exceed them in their ability to absorb stormwater. The garage has been shoved over to the side to get it away from to the 3-foot minimum the VCA will allow typically, to get it away out as much as possible from underneath the substantial oak tree that's on the other side. The neighbors were concerned about water leaving the property even with along the already existing slope to the rear. And in response to that, even though the lot coverage is being reduced, additionally there's a new rain barrel has been put in, and there's, to make it absolutely clear, there will be a formally planted area that will interrupt some of the existing sheet flow from the house to the rear of the house to make sure that water that currently goes there does not go there in the future, that will be absorbed. And I think based on that, we were convinced at the end of the discussion that there would not be, under the 1-inch rain total which you use for calculating such things, more water leaving the site than is currently leaving the site, predominantly because of the loss of the reduction in impervious surface being one of the big elements in that. I think those were our conclusions after a long discussion in the planning committee. And are there any questions, thoughts, or comments? First of all, Lily, you want to give us a motion?
Sure. Move to approve V14096. These are not stamped and dated yet, are they? We've got new plans behind them, so I'll say based on the plans.
I'm not, who would they be dated for stamped to, stamped for construction, stamped for permits?
By the city with all the new stuff.
I haven't been able to.
Well, we can do that this week.
Yeah.
You've got till the NPU meeting. Yeah, just get them, and we'll condition this motion stamped on approval of those plans, and we just need to get a setback at the NPU meeting that shows that they've been redone in the city. Because it's going to be conditioned on those, which anytime between now and next week, gives you 4 or 5 whole days to choose from.
Oh, I see the, and the rain barrel's called out here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's got everything on it that we asked,
Okay.
and that'll turn it into that, okay? So there was that condition, which actually has these things on it, plus electricity limited to the standard of 6 EM and hose bit only. All that's agreeable, I think, at the meeting. Is there any questions or comments or thoughts from anyone here, board, audience, sir?
I want to talk about this after y'all do this. I want to talk about the use of rain barrels as help against stormwater. Because the fact of the matter is, the only amount of water held out of runoff is the exact, and only the exact amount that the barrel will hold. 55-gallon bag.
Right.
That's exactly how much water, no more, no less.
Yes.
But I want to, we can discuss that later as to whether we should.
No, I believe we're extremely aware of that, but the fact is, with or without that rain barrel, there's less impervious surface after this is proposed than there is before currently this is proposed. So the rain barrel and the other planted areas should in fact reduce it. These are really things that will provide additional measures to reduce the amount of water leaving the surface. Without it, the plan should be superior to the existing situation. Any other comments or questions?
Carolina Silverbill, you're playing, you know?
It was on the Atlanta tree list as a native.
It's not Carolina. Okay.
So we don't have a second, do we need to repeat? Does everybody comfortable with that? Second.
So the motion now reads with the items shown on the revised site plan as you submitted here. We'll get you an initial list, we'll initial list. You bring us a copy of this, we'll keep it. You bring us a copy of this matching with the same data we're in, and it'll have these features of what.
Where do I submit it? The city?
You're all in the same old place, yeah. And with electricity, it's conditioned upon the site plan to be dated, and electricity limited to 6 amps, plumbing to hose bib only. All right, no further questions or comments from anyone? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. You are passed unanimously. We will see you next Monday.
You will see my wife next Monday.
Like.
The smaller version, and you take this, or whichever one?
Sign it, dated, we're good to go. We'll compare it to next one.
Small one fits better in the corner.
Mas,
right, so thanks for your work on this.
Thank you. What time, you said?
7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, but
8 o'clock is.
yes, officially it's at 7, and I don't think that we've ever gotten
Maybe
here.
closer to 7:45, Jane's trying to move the summer meetings faster.
Okay, so 7:45, bring something to read if you don't enjoy the process.
We did it last
All right, so thanks. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
time.
All right, our next item is the fundraising committee, a Summerfest report. And these two, that's in
Just
the,
a question.
I'm sorry.
Has the board taken a position on the appeal for 841 North Island?
no, it's coming up under other planning issues.
Oh, okay,
on
thank
the
you.
agenda.
We'll take that.
I have a question first. Do we need to do anything with the deferral?
Oh, let's go ahead and I mean, it's automatic. We recommend deferral at the applicant's request.
For 81409.
Good?
You're good?
Okay.
All right, I think I saw everybody in here at Summerfest at one point or another during the weekend, and I think it was a successful festival. We don't have numbers yet, or we're starting to pull the numbers together, and we're hopeful that they'll be positive. But the weather held, and I think that was a threat at one point, but we were able to have a very successful parade on Friday afternoon. I think we had record attendance in the parade, somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 or 700 individual people in the parade. So Chris did a great job with that. Community dinner, line was long, people seemed happy, great movie afterwards. And then road race, we had 1,400 runners in the road race, so we didn't quite hit our number, but we came very close. Tot Trot had 120 runners. They had 80 pre-registered and 40 on site, so that I think was a record for them. What else? We had a bike valet this year that was pretty successful. I don't know what the final numbers were, but they had 250 bikes stored on Saturday, and then on Sunday, 2 times I was down there, the lot was full. They actually had the house next to the Virginia-Highland church, and they had the front yard, the walkway, the driveway, and the backyard, and it was completely full twice. So I'm kind of waiting for final numbers, but I think that hopefully helped in terms of parking and traffic. What else? Volunteer-wise, volunteers worked long and hard as they always do. We had the normal number of no-shows and last-minute cancellations. It costs us inconvenience. If we could ever figure out a way to deal with that, it would be smoother. But I don't, bumps in the road along the way, but I don't think there were any major disconnects. And I was very pleased with the way the festival came out.
Second, I think we did have a few bumps. Thanks. Gloria was a big help down at Kids Fest. I'll give you a shout out. I think we did have a few bumps Saturday morning, but we worked through them. Rob Frazier's, obviously, as always, tremendous help on that production side. I think if there were any, we had a couple of issues here and there, but nothing to, we did have one of the, this was kind of terrible, one of the vendors at Kids Fest was a young girl, early 20s. Her car was stolen while she was working at Kids Fest on Saturday.
She's one of the sponsors?
So that was not great. And I talked to her, she was super sweet, and, I was like, I was in the exact same situation.
Did you give her a ride home?
She had a ride. She was not alone, so she already had a ride, and I tried to make her feel better about that. And hopefully that will not put a smirk on her, or smudge on her name. She will come back again next year. But she just is one of the managers. She doesn't own the business, so they'll probably do that.
We can offer her free parking next year.
Yeah, she can park in my driveway.
I mean, we can
Or
work
something
something
in
out.
Valley
I
Park?
can give her a parking pass in Ruffley.
Where was she parked?
I think she was parked down Virginia Circle, like the lower end towards Ponce Place.
So many cops rolling around. It's
Yeah,
really
that's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, and when I was talking to her about it, it was Sunday and they were about to leave and she'd shut down, and I think it was her dad had come to pick her up for Saturday. And we were talking about it, and it sounded like she had some things in her car that were visible, that probably didn't help the situation. So that was,
Instead of just breaking in and stealing the things,
they
took
just
the
said,
whole car.
let's take the whole car. So,
It's
yeah.
too bad, it's too bad.
Well, all that said, it seemed like it really went well. No crisis of rain at the end. The artists seemed to leave in a good mood. The thing was, park's almost immaculate right now. I think there's 2 carts left over there. The restrooms are gone, all but 2 carts are gone. It's cleaner than when we started, I think, and
The park looks good.
we cannot, none of the plants got trampled. It really looks great. Yeah, I really, the closer one gets to this, the more amazing it is to see how many moving parts there are. So I congratulate you two and Pam particularly for somewhat understated report. Because you have to see it to believe
I
it.
think we're probably still a little shell-shocked about it, and sleepy, and the delicious, terrible food that we ate, and all that stuff.
I think too, I noticed, Rob Fraser and the team went kind of beyond the perimeter doing cleanup, and that really helped. It was very noticeable as I left and walked down North Highland. They went outside of our boundaries and picked up trash and empty trash cans and got it there.
I mean, he's almost a part of the community. I mean, he cares
Yeah.
about the success of the festival. I mean, of course, it's in his best financial interest to have a successful festival, but he's just such a great person to work with and really does care about.
And he knows, yeah, he's a huge wealth of knowledge. He's amazing.
It'd be hard to think of doing a festival.
Oh my, I don't, there's no way. He can do all that stuff in his sleep. So good.
He does, he just has a little trailer and sleeps right there. He doesn't even leave
For
the
about an
festival.
hour, and that's it.
There you go.
Well, we will await the other song other way we measure this festival, we do care about too, but thank you all very much from everybody. It's quite astonishing, really. Thank you, Fraser, for coming back and being treasurer
Absolutely.
yesterday.
Yes.
It was like,
You were very much.
I have to say, this was the most difficult time I've had with money, because I had to iron every single bill that came in.
Did we get a picture of that? No.
She didn't, because the machine, when I stacked it up, choked and said, "Can't accept them." And I literally had to go iron everything
That's definitely.
and get it nice and neat. And this morning when I was finishing up, I choked the machine down on $22. It jammed and nobody else could put any money in,
Oh, you
nor could I.
locked it up.
And I had to wait for the bank to open to finish deposits. But, that iron, it's not bad. It's not bad. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe that shoe there.
and we get a volunteer ironer.
That's what I need, just get, yeah.
Peggy, you're right.
Well, I will, Peggy will do
I don't know who to call next
Get a
time.
volunteer to iron.
Currently.
Thank you for doing
Well,
that.
thanks, Fraser. I mean, that was awesome. All right, well, again, thanks. Those things. Let us move on to less satisfying matters, the safety report. Ms. Berg.
Okay, so we have two safety issues that we've been chasing particularly aggressively recently. One is the enormous hole on St. Charles, which is still there, and we're still fussing with the city to get it addressed, hopefully very soon, and actually completely instead of some stopgap, like just putting a piece of metal over it. So I wish I had a fixed answer, but they certainly have heard a lot about it at the city in a lot of different departments, and they know there's a problem and we're pushing on. The other issue is around what procedures are for vacant and ill-maintained properties that pose a safety hazard to the neighborhood. And we have several that have been in the neighborhood for more than a year, and the city has not taken the actions that we believe it's required to take, so we've been pressing the city to step up and act on the complaints that have been filed and actually file formal complaints against the owners. And we've requested a meeting with the major and lieutenant in charge of doing that for the city so that we can understand exactly what their authority is and what their responsibilities are, so that in the future we can push them harder.
Is that code enforcement? Is that
Code
who
enforcement.
that is? Okay.
Yes. So hopefully we'll have that meeting in the next week or 10 days, and at least we'll have some information about, or better information about what the rules are and what the protocols are and why the city seems to be unable to act.
Can I ask a question? Are you on that issue? Okay. On the previous issue, I got in response to the post I did today alerting the neighborhood about that situation in St. Charles, Joe Krebs sent me an email and reminded me of the roadway failure we had in front of Blah Blah at Virginia and Rosedale,
Which is
which
also
similarly failed after an initial attempt to fix it. Any thought that there might, maybe we're doing shoddy workmanship, or is there, was that one brought to Alex's attention too, or?
I've not brought that to Alex's attention. It's not as much of a safety issue as this.
I didn't
one on
think
St.
so either,
Charles
and that's
is.
how I responded to
I do
Joe,
think
but-
they're both water related, and I do think they're both related to developers who somehow seem to be having an impact on the streets of the city, not managing those processes.
Not an issue of
properly.
quality of work. Okay.
But yes, I also think the city didn't repair it properly at Rosedale and Rosedale.
They have come back and repaired it now, but it was similar to this, although not as deep of a hole.
I didn't
but
think it was big,
quite
but it
a
was,
hazard.
it was big.
So they did it
Would've
today?
stopped you.
No,
No, it's
they
been
finished
done.
it last week. David and I had the occasion to be by there. We're going to hear from David why in just a minute, but many times in the last 2 weeks, and in their, by way of explanation on that one, I mean, rather than reach too many conclusions too quickly, I mean, when they made that repair, it poured on top of them when they finished the repair, and the hole was full of water, and they tentatively closed it to try to make it functional and waited to see, rather than wait to see if it dried out. They were racing a rainstorm, and it didn't, it continued to leak underground, and they opened it up. It has been repaired, they're waiting for the paving crew. It's functional, all the guards
Oh,
are
yeah.
there. And so I don't think we have any basis, I'm not saying it wasn't bad, we just don't have any basis to know that. But I don't think we have the professional skill to know that.
So it's not fixed yet, but all it needs is
No, it
paving.
is fixed, it needs the, we need
No
to
hole
pave
there.
it. The
Repair
repair
is
is
gravel as opposed to top coat. It used to.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
The one on St. Charles, the hole on St. Charles, it looks like the whole piece of metal, there could be a collapse. And the whole piece of metal could fall in the hole. I never drive over it.
No, it's huge. And this was reported on May 19th, and we're very upset about this one. And I find it astonishing that this wasn't, I mean, I want to go back and look tonight. It needs lights on it. It needs lighting.
Right.
The only reason it's got that nest of cones around it is that Rob Frazier left a bunch of cones at Summerfest that I found this afternoon and drove over there and surrounded it. So I think this is really a piss poor performance by Public Works. on this.
It was sinking in for a few days before the hole actually opened up. So,
Yes,
Have you
ma'am.
considered calling the AJC? You know, they've got that page on, I don't know what day of the week it is, or how many days has this been on our list?
No, we haven't, this really became,
do that, Lord.
you're
I
welcome to
don't
know.
even see it.
You know, you can actually report that through the TV stations as well. Like they all the big ones have, you know, areas on their website where you can go report a pothole. It's quite far beyond that, but it's just another, you know, lever.
This one is radically unsafe to anybody. This one has some really scary stuff. So we got the pictures, I haven't sent them to everybody, but we took a picture at 4:15 and then put the other cones up and took some more pictures. And I don't think it's tremendously safe right now. And there's a huge visible hole under the thing, so something's wrong under there, and I'm not sure what. But the thing, it needs to not be dawdled about. And we're just going to start trying to yell tomorrow about it because it's really crappy. I want to go by there on the way out and see if they've shown up. They promised Sheila that they would be here tonight. So they did.
Yep, they said that. when they said that.
Well, I understand, I understand, they've said that and come, and have said that and not come. They told Sheila that, so all we can do is go by and try to get them to do the right thing.
The best thing to do is call the mayor's office.
Well, that's tomorrow, and we will, tomorrow we'll get on that, but, it's frustrating as all hell.
I have a question for Peggy about sidewalks. I don't really understand, could you tell us more about the sidewalk pricing thing? I saw it in the news, but I didn't really understand what the changes would be that they're proposing.
The city, for the last several years, quite a few years, has had a price where if a person who's got an abutting property wants to have a sidewalk replaced, they can pay $3.90 a square foot to the city, and the city will have the sidewalk replaced. The city will measure it, take the check, and have the sidewalk replaced. There is no commitment on the city's part about how long it will be between when they get the check and when they actually do the work. Starting about a year ago, the city started talking about increasing the $3.90 a foot to be closer to the amount that it actually costs the city to do the work. And in fact, that was one of the levers that we used to encourage people to participate in the last bundle. And it was also the reason that we expanded the bundle to the entire neighborhood instead of keeping on going street by street like we had been thinking we would do. So that's coming up for a vote of city council. It's supposed to be discussed with the various MPUs prior to the city council meeting. It's
When you say get, you mean an increase from the $3.90 to
$10.28
$10.28
a square foot.
Okay.
The $3.90 a square foot leaves a large gap between what the city collects and what the city spends. The city has $0 allocated for sidewalk maintenance. So when they get a check, they have no way of actually funding the shortfall. The $10.28 also falls short considerably of what the city spends because the city has no budget, it has no structure, it's extremely inefficient in getting sidewalks done. So there's still a shortfall, and the city will still have no way to cover the shortfall, even if people pay $10.28. That's the status.
Do you know what if the resident homeowner were to go to a private contractor to get a sidewalk built instead of the city? What's the number for that? Do you know? Is it $10, $4?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
The unofficial answer is if you find a contractor who will do it illegally, it's probably less than $10 a square foot.
When you say illegally, you mean without a city permit?
Without a city permit. If you find a contractor to do it legally, and I have not found contractors who will do it legally unless it's part of a much larger project.
Oh, really?
Because of the overhead of going through the city, then the cost is uncertain. I mean, if you have to pay for the bond and the 8 hours of sitting in City Hall, all on a 10 by 10 square foot, your cost per square foot is extremely high.
So I think Peggy's written a fair amount about this in past articles, and if we haven't, we should dig those out and publish them again, because those realities haven't changed. And one of the challenges for us is that this is one of the very few municipalities in this region and in the nation, I believe, qualifying that does not assume the responsibility for sidewalks as part of its municipal scheme, and because of related issues, including adjacent tree ownership and the sidewalk strip that the city does own, it's really quite important that the municipality do it, and it will never be done efficiently. To my knowledge, it was never, the program under the city's operating on it does not operate successfully anywhere, and so much less the city. So I think the challenge is personally, but we should have a discussion about this and write an article about it and see if we can educate everyone about it and pose the questions, because I think that is the question, is that the city needs to just take it on. There's no other way it works. And this is the most living proof of all. No one could have done a better job than Peggy of trying to shove, pressure, cajole our own neighbors, our neighborhood that has resources, and still we've done pretty well. We still have many difficult sidewalks and always will have, as long as under this plan. There's too many obstacles.
City Council had a task force about issues with sidewalks a little over a year ago.
You and
And the
Sally?
utility committee just asked if they could please see a report. They refused to look at a report for a year and a
So
half.
why don't we write an
On
article
their
about
own
this and get
task
this out?
force.
Does,
So, we, we're hoping that.
is there any talk at City Hall about changing that policy that homeowners are responsible for repairs, or is that
Not
just so
yet.
far out in the realm of
It's a
possibility?
budget challenge, but I mean, I think.
Well,
we
we've
should-
got a quality bond getting ready to be
Well,
floated.
they're also talking about reducing the millage rate, which suggests that they have plenty of money. It shouldn't be a dollar problem if they're talking about
So
reducing the
policy.
millage.
I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because this conversation has gone on many times and could go on for much longer, and it's a good conversation, but we have a number of other things to move on with here. And I would like to write an article about it. I think it's a worthy thing to pose the challenges as we see them and ask this, well, I think there's a political solution that's going to be necessary, and it may be a long time coming. Sir Floyd, sir, you have the floor. Thank you for coming. We appreciate seeing you.
Well, yeah, good evening, good evening. For those that don't know me, I'm Lieutenant Floyd, I'm the commander over the evening watching Zone 6. And I pretty much stand in for the major and most community meetings. But I'm here to report on crime. As far as crime here on 601's beat in the Virginia-Highland community, overall, we're still down 11% in crime. We're still just trying to get a hold on the thefts of vehicles and our open air thefts that are occurring south of Virginia and between Ponce-de-Leon Place and Briarcliff. That's pretty much what we're seeing. Along like Greenwood, St. Charles, St. Louis, closer to the closer to Ponce-de-Leon, but we've tried to, and we're continuing to increase visibility right in that area to try to, grab a hold to some of the largely from all that.
Is this theft of stuff out of vehicles or the entire vehicle?
Well, pretty much it's just vehicle break-ins.
Vehicle break-in?
Yeah, breaking into the vehicles and stealing from the passenger compartments of the vehicle.
We had a report of an entire vehicle theft on Amsterdam about 2 weeks ago, and then I just heard, which I didn't take too seriously, but then I just heard that we had an entire vehicle stolen during Summerfest. So I'm thinking we may have more of a problem starting and emerging about entire vehicles getting
We
stolen.
may, but also people do target for festivals, they do target, because there are just so many cars.
Yeah.
So that's just like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, well, in the past 28 days, we've had 5 vehicles stolen. And that's a very low number compared to other areas of the zone, as pertains to vehicle thefts.
The whole car is getting stolen.
Well, the whole car is stolen. Yes, ma'am.
So those numbers down, those are for the same 28-day period last year, 2013. We say they're down 11%. That's from the exact same 28 days in 2013.
Exactly. So, like I say, we're just continuing to increase visibility. We did have a random robbery, pedestrian robbery on Ponce-de-Leon. And I think there was one burglary in the community in the past 28 days as well. So, I know numbers mean nothing to you when you're actually living in the community and you're actually the victim, but compared to other communities, I think that's very, very good. We're continuing, like I said, we still have investigations following up on every lead as pertains to the vehicle break-ins and the open air thefts. We just ask that you continue to keep your vehicles clean, continue to secure your belongings around your property. Leaving the bad guy, nothing to steal. Yes, ma'am.
How do you track complaints that come in about vacancy and homelessness?
Well,
What's
pretty
that
much we
called
just
in your
address.
report?
Really, we just address it at the complaints as they come. If they come through 911, we'll just handle it, that moment, the officer that's dispatched. Unless you guys ask me on a particular area.
I think she's asking what category do they fall under in the crime report?
I mean,
There's no category for
yeah,
that,
not really.
because there's not enough of them to merit a category particularly?
Well, I mean, most times they just come in as suspicious persons.
Okay.
Yeah, they just come in as suspicious persons, and I mean, if there's an issue, if there's something that can be addressed, if it's an arrest that has to be made, it's still categorized as a suspicious person.
So are the reports of suspicious persons, are those numbers up or down?
That's a good question. I mean, a suspicious person, I mean, we get so many suspicious person calls on a daily basis. I mean, a suspicious person can be somebody that can be anybody, a homeless person, or a person that, if a person that you may feel is breaking into your car, maybe about to commit a burglary, I mean, a suspicious person can be anybody. I mean, but we don't track our homeless encounters. I know that's an issue that you guys deal with, a big issue in the homeless community, but we don't track our homeless encounters.
So you're not tracking complaints or queries or questions or 911 calls around that issue?
Not to my knowledge.
I think the point is we're just trying, maybe interested in finding out if there's been an increase. It's not, we're not chastising you for not doing it. We're trying to see if there's information that might be available.
Well, I mean, I know that the homeless concern has been, an ongoing concern for, this community. I mean, we try to address it, to the best of our ability as those different concerns come up as we witness it throughout the community. I mean, I know the last time I was here, there's a concern about a homeless in the park that's owned by the association in Highland. And there was another concern at Virginia and North Highland, where the homeless has become a little more aggressive. And I mean, we try to address those situations on a case by case, as pertains to law violations. A lot of times, yes, ma'am.
No,
I just have a question on that note. We had an issue on our street recently, and so we were told that even if they're trespassing, there would only be an arrest if the homeowner decided to press charges, and then the person would be arrested and then possibly taken to the hospital if it was mental issues maybe that were foreseen versus actual criminal activity.
Well, with the criminal trespassing law, there has to be a warning issued first. And once that warning is issued, then by the homeowner or whoever has legal authority, then, that next incident, or if they refuse to leave after the warning has been issued, then we can arrest on criminal trespass. A lot of times what we find with a lot of the homeless is, a lot of them suffer from some type of mental disability. And, they're not taking their medication, whether they just refuse to take it or they just don't have the money to take it. And in situations where, it's maybe a crime, a law violation, but it's not, there's no damage to property or no injury to a victim, then we have that option to 1013 to take them down to receive medical treatment for that mental disability on a 1013. There's 3 ways that they can go for mental treatment. I mean, of course, they can go on a doctor's certificate where the doctor says, or a family member goes to the doctor and say, hey, my brother, my mom, my dad is not taking his medication, I'm fearful for his or her life, then the doctor will issue a doctor's certificate to force them to come. Or if a law enforcement officer or a firefighter or